Here we go again. This is Chris. That's Angela. This is the Spice. What you got to do?
More.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Give us some more of that life, man. Spice of life here. This is Chris. That's Angela. Yes. And it is May. So that means that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to probably break it down in a few parts. Yeah. And we're going to get right into it because one of the things that we wanted to get to is just like recognizing it early. But before we do that, Angela, what you got?
What I got? Okay, so this is what I got, everybody. Please visit us at our webpage. To www.spiceolife.com. All right. So also we got some links down in the description or in the comments. So visit us on our social media pages as well. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok.
No, we don't have
Instagram. Yeah. Oh yeah, Twitch. We're kind of working on right now. You know, we haven't did any live stuff yet, but you know, we'll get that taken care of.
Act like we don't do something, but we do.
Yeah, so we'll
one day.
Yeah,
one day I will try to get to that number. I'm not Twitter. All right, but some people believe that mental health is a crisis.
Yes.
Some people don't even recognize it. Some people don't know what you're talking about. But it's just, again, we talked about this several months ago. It's the same as your physical health.
Yes.
And we all have to be aware of it. The earlier, the better.
That's true.
Okay. And we're talking about mental health awareness is different from, and we'll get into that in later parts, it's different from a disorder or a illness.
Yes.
Those are more extremes. And like I said, we may hear us pick on that a little bit, but we'll have more details about that. Yeah. But one of the questions that was asked, and there's many definitions, but one of the ones that was asked is, what is mental health? So one of the definitions, you can research many and you'll find different answers, but they all kind of fit in the same pocket.
Yes.
And it talks about this. It says good mental health anyway, is a state of well-being where you feel good and can function well. So it's not a thing where we just say, oh, no, I'm good. You say it out your mouth because you realistically got to understand, do I really feel good? And am I functioning well?
Yes.
And then it goes on to say you can cope with normal stresses. So you being able to cope with just your normal everyday things like work, productivity, people. And doing all that, you're still satisfied. That's a description, our basic description of mental health that's good.
Yes.
And that's usually an average day. So it's not like you're way over the top. It's not like that's a balance. Good mental health that is talked about.
Yeah.
But there's more involved because there can be little signs that can start figuring out if you have something beyond that when you're young and stuff like that. So
yeah, and that is so true, because even in today's times, we know a lot of folks are dealing with this, and it does start young. In fact, the statistic here in the United States is that over 1 in 5 youth ages like 13 to 18, either currently or at some point of their life, have had some seriously debilitating mental illness. So that is very, shocking. You talk about 1 in 5. That's a lot. So we want to bring awareness to that, especially for the young people. If you're able to, take care of that, or be able to manage it or get help, before it starts. I shouldn't say before it starts. No, that could be before it starts or during it. That'll be great. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is our point. Be on top of and knowing and being realistic and being aware of your physical and mental health from as early as possible. A lot of what we're talking about is like even at, really you got to do it at a young age, like at, childhood, like when you're young. In childhood, you're going to be a teenager. You want to start being aware of how you feel about things, how you react to things, because it's the same thing as, think about this. If your knee is hurting, are you not going to look into that? Are you not like, well, it hurts sometimes, whatever. No, you're going to be like, maybe I got an issue. Did I have an injury? Did something happen?
Yes.
So you wouldn't let that go until you can kind of get into what's going on. So it's the same thing with our mental health. If we feel some kind of way about something, we want to make sure that it's not like, am I overthinking this? Am I okay? Why am I acting this way? Is this, just things you want to understand about. It's basically you understanding you knowing about you.
And there are warning signs too. So there are, and we all know each other, just like Chris was mentioning. Knowing you know what is normal to you, or you know what's not normal. You know your limitations as well. So that is very important. And once you pick up on those, then you can act accordingly, just as he said. Also, maybe kind of think, we'll probably get into that later. Think of ways that you can incorporate something in your routine that will help offset it. If you're a certain way, especially with the youth. Let's say a teenager, for example. If a teenager hey, school, just getting up in the morning and going to school is that gets on my nerve. I start my day off wrong every time I wake up because I know I got to go to school. That is a stress. That's an anxiety for you. So what can you do in the morning to change your routine to make it something that's not, a stressor? So we're gonna, dive into that later.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax talking about school structures. That's why you see nowadays people starting to change those and adjust, because everybody is not built to deal with that structure. But that's another whole comment. But anyway, like Angela was saying, just being aware of it earlier. Also and we'll talk again more about some of these things in part 2, 3, 4, being able to separate just the health maintenance from the disorders or the illness of things. Mm-hmm. If you maintain the maintenance of it, you don't get to those places. But if you don't acknowledge it, not aware of it, not educated on it, you will get in those places and not know you're there. It's kind of like walking into a room. Like I walk into this room, well-lit room, normal, next room. That's like how your day should go. Mm-hmm. But sometimes if we don't maintenance those things, we can walk into, as you hear the terminology, a dark place. Or even a too bright place, but really a place you shouldn't be in because you never checked. You just walk right into it and you kept going. And now you're in a place where something's not right. And it can not only be a danger to yourselves at some point, it could be a danger to others. So that's something to be aware of. And that's why we keep focusing on try to see it at a young age, even with young ones. Like if you're a parent, start looking for, not try to say we create issues, but start looking for that are helping your young ones to manage. So if they tell you something they're stressing out about, take it seriously. Let's not disregard it. Yeah. We're not saying to pamper them, but let's not disregard it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Also, when you mention it about the good mental health, you're talking about well-being, what makes you feel good. So I'm gonna give you an example of young people when you're, especially with parents, teaching them how to do this, teaching them or showing them ways they can come back. Like, of course, we got a grandbaby. Of course, she has temper tantrums, but you still have to teach your kid and discipline them. But at the same time, recognizing, okay, this is way overboard or whatever, but you can show them how to change the narrative as far as their in the moment, their stressor in the moment. And one thing I can share with you that I do with my granddaughter, because one thing that she finds as stressful is going to sleep. So she doesn't like going to sleep or taking a nap. We'll say taking a nap, going to sleep. But some of the things I help my daughter out with, but also I know that she loves like soft, calming stuff, calming music, calming this or that. But knowing that, we kind of teach her different things, or teach her to know that, or she'll ask for particular stuff to help her. But what if we did that too before it gets all, out of hand? If I know that I need this to help calm me down or help put me in a better place, I already have that, lined up and ready.
Yeah. Line it up, straighten it up, and have it ready to go. Now, I don't like to get too deep in statistics when it comes to our mental health and some of the things we deal with, but what probably escalated it or made it what people think is a crisis is the other big word, the pandemic.
Yes.
Of COVID and things like that. And people found that they had more challenges and actually became more comfortable with isolation. But sometimes isolation is not healthy, because then you get isolation. You may be comfortable, but then you develop that feeling of, man, I'm all alone. You think you're the only one dealing with all these issues. You're all by yourself. Nobody don't care. The people don't understand. So it's like a catch-22. Do we need some alone time sometime? I don't know any information that says you don't. In my mind, you do. You do have. I think it's imperative. But keeping it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, but keeping it that way, it could be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And you spoke about the pandemic. I'm telling you, that all like kind of caught all of us off guard per se, but also it was a challenge as well. And for me personally, it was a challenge, because you can't, you talk about not only worrying about the stressors when it come, or anxiety when it can't come to not wanting the coronavirus or, about having anything, but try not to get it. But also because you do miss, that causes you miss people, you miss being around folks, you miss those things. But then towards the end of the pandemic, I noticed that I was used to that. I was like, sometimes stuff got really easy. You okay, for 3 years you got, you adapted to the circumstance. So talk about mental health, the challenge is unwinding, coming out of that state of mind. So that could cause some anxiety and stress.
That became a big thing too, work related. You had companies literally having a fight with employees because they found that some were more productive, some weren't, some were. And then when they were trying to get them to come back, someone was like, wait, what this works well. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you how real what goes on in here is.
Yeah.
And different, that pandemic threw a lot of things off. So yeah, I would say that it's something we definitely need to take seriously and just look at it, check our health every day. It's not a big deal. It's just like checking temperature, checking physical things. So
totally agree.
So yeah.
So and with that said, we'll go into probably more details about all the things that you can do to kind of help out to later. But we're talking about situations in the, trying to not only notice it within yourself, but just to let you know that, hey, this is common. I read you a statistic just for the young people, 1 in 5. That's a lot. That is a lot. And as time go by, you can either, hope that people will be able to, let's just hope that those numbers will go down. But because things are going up, things trending, are trending in the wrong direction. But we're hoping that, you all or whoever's listening to this can find whatever help. And just know that there's don't get into the stigma or some people don't go and get help because they feel that they're either don't want to be, I guess, seen as a person with, like, I'm not crazy. They'll say, hey, I ain't crazy, ain't nothing wrong with me. We're saying that everybody has to make sure their mental health is, taken care of. Like, you're taking care of your mental health, just like your physical health. That's what we're saying. It's just like your physical health. You got to exercise. If you don't exercise and you sit there and eat all day long and you don't get out there exercise, you don't watch what you eat, or you don't put in those parameters, you're setting yourself up to have issues with your health later. Just like mental health, you got to put those parameters in there, and you got to take care of yourself and make sure that you are, just like some of the things that you mentioned earlier, that you're taking care of those. Yourself, let's get it done. Don't, nobody's crazy. you're actually you're putting things in place that really would help you in the long run, big time. Just like physical health, you be fit, you look good, you feeling good, and that's part of mental health. Physical health is part of mental health, which is something I read earlier, and I was like, you know what, it is.
Yeah. So it's going to be some obvious things, and we're not going to get too deep in that, but it's obvious things that really were bad, in our childhood. Even as adults, there's like, you wouldn't wish upon your enemy. And so those are obvious things that really would affect you, could take you into a disorder or illness. There could be hereditary situations that can cause it. There could be ailments that you have that can connect to it, that can trigger factors that take you beyond the health part and just take you into a disorder or illness. And there could be things that just come your way as you got older. So there's so many things that could trigger that and cause your health your mentally to go beyond the norm. That's why it's so important to always kind of do your self check-ins.
Yes. And
also it's very, very, and I keep putting emphasis on it, and Angela mentioned it too. When you look at your own health mentally, be super honest with yourself. If you're honest with you, not beat yourself up, not say something unrealistic, but have a balanced honesty of yourself. And it's nothing wrong with wanting to adjust how you deal with life. If there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need a break. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm ready to take this on and deal with that. But if you don't be aware of it, you'll just randomly do things and then wonder why you feel a certain way. And you don't think about it, you can hurt yourself, you can impact yourself. And if you don't think about it, you can hurt someone else. And I'm not talking about physically. Sometimes a mental hurt or a hurting of feelings or hurting someone emotionally can be more damaging than even physically. I don't recommend either. Both are wrong. But there emotional effect that people, and guess what can happen? The emotional and physical effect goes both ways. There's no one that has a monopoly on it. So, brother, no matter what human being or kind of person you are, no matter what culture, no matter what tribe, no matter where you come from or who you are, you can be affected or affect someone emotionally. So being aware is for not only for your betterment, but for the betterment of others around you.
That's true. And sometimes you just mentioned that, I thought about, and this for people with the severe case, of, what we're discussing, is knowing that what a person is going through, the challenges they have in that area, can help you to be more understanding when you on that receiving end of that, of the verbal. We'll say, if someone is having challenges, and if I know someone is having a challenge in that area, when they I shouldn't say lash out, or when they speak out towards you in a negative way, you just knowing that, even if it's a sibling or, it can be a relative, it could be coworker, whatever, a lot of folks, you don't know. So sometimes you have to be like, even if you don't know, what if, well, that may be something I may be digging down the rabbit hole. Well, I would say this, even if you don't, let's say if you don't know, right? You don't know, and this person does have challenges, mental health challenges that they have, that they, on the higher end, where they do need a professional to help them assist with that. Let's say they're having a bad day, they lash out, but let's say that someone said something, but let's say you lash back out, but then when you find out, oh, this person's having so much going on, you be like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have did that, So I think for people that, if you don't know, and this is level, we gotta just kind of just chill, because we don't know. And even a lot of people go through things throughout their day that could affect them mentally, and so Now, I know we're mentioning things that we're dealing with personally, but let's say you're on a receiving end, just, being calm and just kind of displaying a mildness about and that could really affect you too. Like if you got triggers with certain things, you might need to kind of, what, I know if I go here or if I'm around this type of person, whatever, I need to kind of be a little bit, can I handle this today? Can I handle this person today? Can I handle going this place today? Can I handle listening to this song today? That can affect you too. That's things that you have to really kind of be focused on, because I'm telling you, sometimes TV shows, people, different things can trigger you. So knowing your triggers is definitely a must, and definitely something we need to be aware of, and and not give into.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's right. That was a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I always go down the rabbit hole. I try not to, but it's like I think about this stuff and I'm like, okay, let me say a little. But then all of a sudden, my brain wait a minute, what about this? It starts pushing other stuff through it.
Yeah, but it's good information, and that's a good example of what we're talking about, because it does take a little work and energy to not only look at what somebody have said to you that hurt you or affected you in some way, but two things: being able to manage that about yourself and understand and recognize. And the biggest battle with mental health, as me and Van was talking about a million times, and I'll stick to this, is the emotional aspect. People are usually most people are pretty good. I'm good until emotions kick in, and they've been all sanity, all reasonableness can go out the door if a person don't manage that.
Yeah, triggers.
And that's called lack of understanding of their own mentalness. Like, they're not mentally ill. There's no disorder here. Could be, I don't know. It depends on how extreme and how consistent it is. But that's a good example of where if a person has enough soundness of mind, say for instance, somebody says something to me, outside my home, says something to me that got me upset. Do I have enough soundness of mind and aware of my mental faculties and my health, saying, ooh, this person may not even understand how this is bothering me. If we start thinking that way, the reactions don't come as quickly. We manage it better. I'm not saying you're not going to get bothered, but almost you understand yourself better. And you at least try. And sometimes it may not work out after a while because the person may continue, but start trying. That's what I'm saying. Start trying to be so aware of how you're reacting and thinking about something. I'm not saying you're wrong, we're wrong or right when we do that, but what it does is allow us to, even if the person should do that, you would think they would do it. It'd be nice if they did it before they said something to you, but at least we have to do it. Yeah. Somebody got to do it.
Yeah, and also to add to that, if you know that you avoid it, if you know something would bother you, or you avoided an argument or confrontation with anyone, and that makes you feel better because you sometimes, you're like, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I hadn't did that, I wish blah, 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 blah. If you just think about the outcome of it, with you acting more in a positive way than a negative way, then that is a win. That's a win in the books, Yeah,
it's nice if that happens. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Here's the key to a real avoidance, like Angela said, so you avoid it. But now you have to let it go, because if I bring it back, let's say for instance me, I was like, oh, whatever you say, and I move on. If I bring it back up to that human being, I didn't avoid nothing. I just took the wreck, and it just delayed the wreck. I avoided the wreck earlier, but then I caused it later. So when Angela's talking about avoidance, it's avoidance. Like, you have talked yourself through this and you're good. It's not going to probably happen initially because you're still like managing it. So you avoided it. Then you work it out. Then you let it go. Now that's done. That's a complete avoidance. So when we avoid something, don't come back to it later.
Right.
Because then you're going to cause a wreck. It's still going to happen. You just, gave yourself an hour or something. So. And
don't you feel like when you bring it up, don't that stress you out? That's the stressor all this stuff when you bringing stuff back up.
And we don't even realize we're doing it.
Exactly. But let's say this, because let's say if you bring it up and you wait a minute. Just
what am I
continue.
doing?
Let it go. Like, what am I doing?
What's going on?
Let me move on. Let me change the subject.
Yeah.
Let me do, you got to do that because why? That's in the past. So why would you do that? There's nothing you can do about what stuff that you've done, stuff you've said, I wish I had done this better. Or I wish I had did that better,
And here's the tricky part. Let's say another person's involved, another friend or whoever, human being is involved. And we in our brain, I'm trying to be peaceful. I'm trying to avoid this. Just kind of do it and try to do it. If you have to verbalize it to the person, try to figure out how to say it in a peaceful, loving way. Mm-hmm. So if I say to my friend, oh man, I want peace. I don't want no problem. You need to go, or you stop speaking or whatever. You're not going to probably avoid it because it's still causing attention. Mm-hmm. But if it's like, yeah, I got you. I understand. I'm good. You good? I'm good. You're trying to make peace without causing, not proving that I don't want to prove I'm just peaceful and my friend isn't. I want to prove that we good. And somehow if we can get away from it, that'll be great. And we can move away peacefully and try to figure out how to conversate that in your mind. Because actually, when we thinking we're going to cause something, sometimes we can actually create more issues for ourselves and not even know it.
Yes.
So that has to be a conversation there.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Sometimes, hey, listen, it ain't going to kill us or kill none of us. I'm going to speak as a guy. Man, it don't kill your brother to say, you right.
Yeah.
You right, man. You right, sweetie. You right, whatever. It's no bullet's gonna go through. I mean, it's okay. Mm-hmm. If that's gonna help you get to a peaceful place, and then you would probably want to encourage the person to say, okay, let's give it a break or whatever. But we're doing this. Not, I mean, look, obviously I'm the peaceful one. You're not. Okay, we both should be. Can we? If you don't, you're right. I understand what you're saying. And if it's something, let's try to revisit, but hopefully we good. Yeah. And you can move on.
Well, one thing's for sure, I'm going to be good. Because sometimes you can't do nothing about how another person is going to take that and react or respond to it. You just make sure that you're on the good side, you're on the positive side of it. You've moved on. Because if somebody else can't move on, there's nothing you can do about that.
If they can't move on. And she's right. You want to have your own self-preservation first. That's important because you can't do nothing if you don't have it first. Once you establish that, though, if it's something there are things I know I can say and do that'll make Angela feel better. So if I can, I'll try. But once I come to the resolve, maybe I can't. Or once she comes to the resolve, I tried a few times in a loving way to explain to him. I try to move up in a loving way to explain to her. And you've tried. Then you really do have to kind of like, otherwise you're going to lose your mind. You'll get upset.
Yeah, don't lose your mind.
And you won't have the spice.
Yes. Give me some more. Come on, let's do this. Life.
So we'll probably do a part 2.
Yes,
we definitely will. So.
Definitely a part 2 on this. We need it. This is something that's definitely needed for everyone. So we will come back to you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment if possible. And there we go. I'm sorry, I did too many www.spiceoflife.com. We'll be talking to you soon. part 2 coming up next. Bye-bye.